Hey everybody, this is Perch. We got a question here. It is you know what? Let's just read the mail. It says Gail Simone on CBR, good marketing? Question mark. Okay. Hello, says the mail. Hope you're doing well. I had heard that Gail Simone, I had heard that Gail Simone had joined the CBR boards, and I took a look at the Ask Gail thread she posted. I can't ask her anything because CBR threw me off about a decade ago, along with a lot of other people. But she is there and she is taking questions. They're all softballs, which leads me to wonder if CBR is either sanitizing the incoming messages or if anyone who had posed a non softball question had long ago been thrown off the board. Still, she is on there and she is talking to the fans, and in all of the pages I read there, hasn't been a blow up or insult. In one way, going through the thread makes me sad because I can remember spending a good lot of time talking about comics on boards like CBR's before things turned toxic and the cool comic fans threw everyone else out of them. Okay, I think this is a good move on her part. She can't really do anything about the mistakes of the Krakoa era, but at least she can be open about how she feels about the character and how she might want to go forward. Do you think this will draw anyone back to CBR? And says, glad the channel is going. So, first off, is it good marketing? Sure, it is as long as it's controlled. And what I mean by controlled is, it's one thing to, have a creator on CBR and have it be open messages. And as long as everyone's more or less polite and things are, fairly buttoned in, I think that will go fine. But the risks you have are twofold. One, you get a fan in there who asks a question that's a little bit more spicy, and then it's all that downside. Either, Gail answers it in a way that's equally spicy, and then it blows up, or the question is suppressed and it's taken off, or the moderators do not let it go through, and then you get they're censoring into just softball questions, kind of like you said in the mail. Either of those routes is bad. From a standpoint of, you want to provide kind of something that's open, but it's not. And that's why probably the safest, best way to go, and I'm just talking pragmatically here, not, what makes us feel better, is for CBR to completely sanitize the questions, to put them in their own thread, to, basically ask them like in an interview format versus an open mic format. Because then at least it's not going to go horribly off the rails, and more or less you're going to be able to manage the message. Now, it'd be way more fun, don't get me wrong, if it could just be an open forum and, any questions get asked and Gail could answer. But there's just too many opportunities for it to go south. Let's say Gail's in, a bad mood that day. Let's say, Gail doesn't have the same level of sophistication in her answer on Tuesday versus Monday. And and therefore it leads to fights. The other problem, and I'm just speaking honestly here, is where exactly is the line? A lot of people are tough guys on Twitter, or girls, whatever, and they will say things like, don't want none, don't start none, and it all sounds good. But let's say you're a comic fan and you say, Gail, why are you such a bitch? Because you want to throw something spicy at her to see how she'll respond. And let's say Gail responds back going, I don't know, why are you such an incel? Immediately, what's the take there? Should Gail be able to respond in kind to questions, or should Gail always take the upper hand, or the high road? Is it fair to ask Gail to always take the high road if people are going to shit on her? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta pick. Where are we gonna go with this? Is it that everybody gets to brawl all the same way? I see the same thing, by the way. There's a lot of, a lot of live streams, a lot of people do shows like that, and they will personally handpick, super chats. And if it's their ballgame, your show. So they are allowed to throw out insults, and they are allowed to pick and choose whether or not, they're willing to be insulted. I think that's one of the, the parts where things get into trouble is, a lot of creators will take some shit until the one day they decide they're tired of taking shit, and then they just don't. And, suddenly it all breaks down from there, right? I don't know. I think that I love it. So I'm willing to play by the rules of, you come in. I mean, clearly you could see it in the message board. I don't censor your messages. If your messages aren't getting posted to the message board, YouTube is the one who's deleting it. And a while back, like a year ago, every now and then I would say one out of every, 1,000 posts I'd have to remove. And I was pretty clear about, what posts I was removing from YouTube. Like, for example, if you go after my children, I will remove your posts. I won't put up with that. And if you say something that's a blatant, accuse me of saying something I didn't say, not just interpret it differently, but actually like you said, quote this, I didn't put up with that shit either. So it's like those two would get but even in the last year, like, I'm not reading the comments regularly. I would like to, I should. You're right. That would be the right thing to do. And I absolutely should, but I am not. So it's quite possible there are some nasty comments about my children. I hope not, but it's possible that that's going on. And, I hope not, but if it is happening, I'm not seeing it. So that's the way it is. But that's my policy. I'm willing to take shit from people. I'm willing for people to call me out. But keep in mind, if you're going to call me out, some days I might go, yeah, thanks for your feedback. And some days I might call you a dick. I don't know where it's going to go on any given day. And so the way I view it is, hey, look, I'm open to taking some shit, but then you have to be open to taking some shit. That's the deal. And this isn't I don't see myself as higher than any of you, but also I don't see myself as a punching bag who just gets to take shit all the time for no good reason. Anyway, there you have it. So, yeah, there you go. I don't know. Will it bring people back to CBR? Probably not. I think the damage has been done there. I think that, if you're going to have a message board, it is playing with fire, basically, because you need to have a fairly open system. You need to be able to, you need to be able to have open forums. And you need to be able to allow people to speak their minds, even when it doesn't, align with yours. But let's face it, I'm not sure anybody, including the people running the message boards, or frankly, sometimes the people posting to them, is in a mental state to really do that well right now. I don't think they are. Look, we're also heading into a very, very polarized and contentious election. I'd love to believe, it would be nice to have some good adult conversations about politics and our leaders and the decisions we're making as a country. It'd be wonderful. I don't think we're going to have those. We're not there. I'm vaguely aware that, there's the whole dialogue that is going on, quite frankly, right now against Rebel Moon and media like that. I watched Rebel Moon. It was terrible. But, there's a lot of the MCU and all this kind of stuff. And it's fun to say, but none of that is really leading to a intelligent, thoughtful conversation about anything right now. It just isn't. And I'm not saying, shame on you guys, all you bad fans, for not being able to have intelligent conversations about the Marvel Universe. I'm saying that maybe we're at a place right now where nobody can have an intelligent conversation about the Marvel Universe. It's just broken. It is. It's just, we're in a broken state right now. People are having too much fun crapping on entertainment media. And, I feel irritated. Look, you take the James Bond discourse from a couple of years ago, where it's like, why is Bond being turned into a pussy? And, of course they're going to replace him with a strong, diverse female character. And, you get all that kind of stuff. And on one hand, it's very tempting to say, hey, the fans are basically a bunch of dicks for, making these comments, and can they get over it? And why does everything have to turn into this bullshit? I get it. On the other hand, look, a lot of you, you did this to yourselves, meaning the companies. Like when you go out, but I don't know about the rest of you, but in my mind, a lot of companies can be forgiving for making the kind of statements that are like pouring gasoline on a fire. 10 years ago, when people didn't know it was pouring gasoline on the fire. If you said, hey, we're going to reimagine this film for modern audiences. 5 years ago, that was a reasonable thing to say, or at least, it didn't have the baggage it does today. But in 2024, It's a little bit like, well, here, I'll use this analogy for you. When I was a kid, you would say, hey, that looks gay. And you weren't actually making a comment about homosexuality or LGBTQ rights or anything else. You were saying like, that looks dumb, because that's how people use the word. People who would throw that stuff out were not making some bold statement about, about gay rights. As a kid, it's same thing, by the way, if you said that's retarded. That was something you could say back in the 80s, and you weren't making any kind of social political stance. Now, obviously, fast forward to 2024, and those words do have baggage around them. And they are attached to either lifestyle choices or people with mental condition or whatever. They're attached to other things. So you have a choice. You can either say, damn it, I want to go back to how it was in the 80s, where you could say those words and it was fine. Or you can acknowledge that you're never going back. Like the world has moved on. Those words mean different things now, and they're just not words that the culture is going to accept that you say. And that you can say, I long for a simpler time. I wish it was different. I wish it was better. You could do that all day long. And I wish that too. I wish for a simpler world. I wish for a world where I used to ride my bike like 5 miles to a comic shop and it was completely safe and everything else. And the idea of don't take candy from a stranger in a van was kind of a weird, silly idea, as opposed to the nightmarish hellscape it is now. Like times are different. And the same thing goes for a lot of kind of, the message boards and conversation. That'd be a good idea as a marketing tool. We are not living in the world of the AOL message boards where you get into fights and it didn't turn into World War III. That's not how it is now. I wish we could go back. I wish that things could change. I wish that, media and other things could be looked at more, honestly. I wish that a movie publisher or a movie producer could say, we're reimagining this for modern audiences, and it meant maybe you're updating the CGI, and you're taking out things that kind of were old fashioned or hokey. Maybe it meant you weren't going to have rotary dial up phones, and instead people would have cell phones. Once upon a time, when people said, redone for modern audiences, that's what it meant. It meant that the TVs that, were in the movie were flat screen TVs like we have now, as opposed to giant, thick tube TVs. But reimagine for modern audiences doesn't mean that anymore. It means something else. And so if you're a studio using that in 2024, you're kind of dumb, because it carries all this baggage with it. And so my point is, yeah, you could be pissed at the fans for, and what was the movie? There's some recent movie, and I forget what it was, where the producers are like, we just said we were going to update the film and the property. We weren't going to get into all the social shit, but everybody got all up in arms because of the social shit. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Boy, it sure would be nice if people didn't lose their minds over stuff like that. That would be delightful and wonderful. But it's 2024 and people do. So you're the dumb one for assuming it was going to go any differently than the way it went. You know what I mean? Like we can complain about the way the world has evolved, but the world evolved. And so with message boards and other things, once upon a time that was a powerful marketing tool. It's probably not today. You either have to heavily censor it, in which case it loses its authenticity, or it just doesn't work anymore. C'est la vie. Anyway, thanks for the mail, thanks for the question, and thank you for listening.